بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عن عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يقيمن أحدكم رجلا من مجلسه ثم يجلس فيه ولكن توسعوا وتفسحوا وكان ابن عمر إذا قام له رجل من مجلسه لم يجلس فيه متفق عليه. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma narrates Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, none of you should make a person get up from his seat and then take his place, but you should be accommodating and make place. If anyone stood up from his place to allow Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma to sit in their place, he would not sit in that place. This hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam teaches us an important etiquette of gatherings. When you go into a public gathering, or you go into a semi-public gathering, like people have gathered in your home, or people have gathered in your private property, or something like that, that becomes a semi-public gathering. So when you go to a public gathering or a semi-public gathering and people are already seated, whether they're seated on the ground in their spot, or they are seated in chairs or on couches in their spots. So a person should not make someone get up from their spot and then occupy the same space. This is what the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us through this instruction and through this directive. لا يقيمن أحدكم من مجلسه ثم يجلس فيه. لا يقيمن أحدكم رجلا من مجلسه ثم يجلس فيه. What is the wisdom behind that? So this happens quite often in many places, especially when you feel like you are above others, or you feel like you are more important than others, or you feel like you have more right to some spot than others. That happens in the masjid as well. For example, someone is sitting in the first row or in the second row, and you happen to usually occupy that spot, that space. You come, you see that someone is already sitting over there. You come to that person, say, brother, I usually sit over here. Can you get up? Can you move? And then you take that spot. That is against the teaching of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or someone is sitting on a chair, or someone sitting on a sofa, whatever, and you move that person from their spot and then take that space. That is against the etiquettes that our beloved Prophet ﷺ have taught us. Once again, there's always, whether in a smaller percentage or a larger percentage, there's always going to be an element of arrogance in that person who's making others get up from the spot that they're already seated in. Because in a public place, or even in a semi-public place, whatever space you got, that's yours now. The right is for the one who gets to that place first. Al-haqqu liman sabaq. Unless the spaces are already identified and reserved. Like if you go in a public place and a table is already reserved. If you're going to someone's walima or someone's marriage or someone's aqiqah or something like that, and they have already identified that this table is for the family, this table is for this person, this table is for that person. The names have already been displayed or have already made known. In that case, yes, that's not your right to be in that space to begin with. So in that case, if someone comes over there and that space belongs to them and they say, please, this is my seat, so then that's okay. But otherwise, if there's no such designation that has been announced, that has been made known, in that case, whoever comes first, that's their spot. So you should not make them get up from their spot and take it. So Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu would strictly practice on this direction of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the extent that if someone even voluntarily would give up their spot for Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he would not sit in that spot, just in honor of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, from the fiqhi perspective, from the ruling perspective, if someone voluntarily gives up their spot and gives it to you, that's fine. Then you can take it. Like for example, someone is sitting in the first row and they see the imam, or they see an elderly or a scholar or another respectable person, and they voluntarily give up that spot and they say, please have this space. That's okay. Then they are voluntarily giving up their right to that spot. In that case, you can take it. But Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu wouldn't even accept that. Wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.